A cordial greeting. Today is Tuesday, October 28, 2025. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. At the time of recording this video, it is 5:30 in the afternoon, local time, in eastern Cuba, where they are already beginning to feel the effects of Hurricane Melissa, which during the past few hours has been crossing over western Jamaica, and reports of catastrophic damage are already coming in from across Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa will definitely go down in the record books as one of the most intense hurricanes to make landfall in the Atlantic. And it is very likely that recovery efforts in Jamaica will take several years or even decades. Due to its interaction with land, it has weakened slightly. However, it continues to be a powerful Category 4 hurricane, and at 5 p.m., the National Hurricane Center indicates that it has maximum sustained winds of 145 miles per hour, or 230 kilometers per hour, and that it will reach parts of Cuba during the early morning hours of Wednesday, with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour, or 225 kilometers per hour. So, eastern Cuba will also be affected by a powerful Category 4 hurricane, also capable of causing a catastrophe across the eastern provinces of Cuba. And before talking about the forecast track and the effects it will bring across eastern Cuba and the central and southern Bahamas, I wanted to review some historical data related to Hurricane Melissa. Around noon, local time in Jamaica, it made landfall over the city of New Hope as a Category 5 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 180 miles per hour, a barometric pressure of 892 mb, which ties the record for the lowest barometric pressure of a tropical cyclone making landfall in the Atlantic. In terms of barometric pressure overall, it currently ranks third, tied with the 1935 hurricane known as the Labor Day hurricane, and only surpassed by Hurricane Wilma in 2005 and Hurricane Gilbert in 1988. Of course, the final analysis from the National Hurricane Center remains to be seen to confirm that this measurement is correct and to establish its ranking among the most intense hurricanes in the Atlantic. In addition, in terms of wind, the hurricane made landfall with maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, which also represents a tie among the most intense cyclones in terms of maximum sustained winds to make landfall in the Atlantic. The tie is with Hurricane Dorian in 2019, which affected the northern Bahamas, also the Labor Day hurricane of 1935, which crossed over Key West, and now Melissa in 2025, when it made landfall over western Jamaica. As you can see throughout the day, as the center crossed over Jamaica, it has been weakening, and we now have a much less organized structure compared to this morning. In fact, the eye wall has collapsed. However, it is already very close to moving back over the waters of the Caribbean Sea, which should at least allow it to maintain its intensity until it reaches eastern Cuba. In the 5 p.m. advisory, the National Hurricane Center forecasts that it will not be able to strengthen because it will only spend about 12 hours over the waters of the Caribbean Sea. However, as I mentioned, it is projected to reach Cuba as a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 225 kilometers per hour. In the infrared satellite animation, we can also see some outer bands accompanied by tropical storm force winds and torrential rain already affecting eastern Cuba. And in this image, you can see that some tropical storm force winds are already affecting parts of the provinces of Granma, Santiago de Cuba, and Guantanamo. Soon, these conditions should reach parts of Las Tunas and Holguin, while hurricane force winds still remain in parts of northern and northwestern Jamaica. However, weather conditions will improve tonight as the hurricane accelerates toward eastern Cuba. In general, the models agree that it will maintain that northeastward motion over the next 48 hours, moving increasingly faster, first making landfall over eastern Cuba in about 12 hours, and, during Wednesday afternoon and evening, crossing over some of the southern and central islands of the Bahamas. The islands in the Bahamas that will feel the effects of this hurricane include Long Island, San Salvador, Acklins, and Crooked Island, Cat Island, and Miaguana. Let's look at the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. In red, you can see that a hurricane warning remains in effect for eastern Cuba, which includes the provinces of Las Tunas, Holguin, Granma, Santiago de Cuba, and Guantanamo. In addition, a tropical storm warning has been issued for the province of Camagüey, while the hurricane warning remains in effect for Jamaica and also for the central and southern islands of the Bahamas. For the Turks and Caicos Islands and Haiti, a tropical storm warning remains in effect. The National Hurricane Center forecasts that it will reach the province of Santiago de Cuba around 6 a.m. Wednesday as a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of approximately 220 kilometers per hour, and the center would exit around noon near the city of Holguin. Then, during the afternoon and evening of Wednesday, it will cross over the Bahamas. So you can see that in 36 hours, it will move along this entire stretch, which means that the cyclone will continue accelerating toward the north-northeast. Here, you can see the wind gust projections according to the European model, where, for eastern Cuba, From Las Tunas to Guantanamo, some wind gusts over 220 km per hour could occur during the next 24 hours, and then, for the Bahamas, some gusts over 190 km per hour. So be very cautious, as these winds can cause significant damage to structures. The National Hurricane Center indicates that residents of eastern Cuba should remain in a safe place for the next 24 hours, as heavy rain will cause flooding and landslides, as well as storm surge and dangerous surf along the southern coast of the provinces of Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and Granma, as well as for the central Bahamas. In addition to the rain and storm surge, heavy downpours are also expected. First, note that in Jamaica, an additional 100 to 200 millimeters of rain could still fall, while for eastern Cuba, rainfall totals could range between 300 and 400 millimeters. For the Bahamas, where the circulation center passes, accumulations between 150 and 250 millimeters are expected. Well, that's all for the update on dangerous Hurricane Melissa, which, although it has weakened as it moved over Jamaica, continues to be an intense hurricane capable of causing a catastrophe in parts of eastern Cuba and the central Bahamas region. So please, if you live in this area, do not let your guard down, prepare, and stay in a safe place for the next 24 to 36 hours. And before I go, I'd like to ask you to share this video with acquaintances and friends who live in Jamaica, Cuba, the Bahamas, or the Turks and Caicos Islands, and before you leave, give this video a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you'll receive notifications when I record new videos. See you later.